Hi everyone, welcome to the Vulnerable Scientist podcast. This is your host, Saranya Kerry. I have a guest who I'm really excited to talk to and have a conversation with, Nonsikelelo. What's your full name?
It's Nonsikelelo Amanda Sackey, but you can call me Ntsigi for short if that works for you.
Ziggy. Okay, what's the meaning of your name?
Nonsikelelo means blessing. Yeah.
Which language
I'm my
is
mother's
that?
first child. It's a Nguni language from South Africa. So I'm saying Nguni because it covers quite a few languages in South Africa, being it Zulu, Ndebele, Swati. So it goes across board, but in the Nguni language, Nonsikelelo means blessing.
Okay. All right. So tell us more about yourself.
I am the founder of Siakula Digital, which is a science communication and engagement platform that is focused on showcasing, celebrating, and accelerating scientists and science in Africa. So I am extremely passionate about science. I'm not a scientist. I studied science as undergrad, but then I realized that the lab was not for me. I just did not have the patience for that bacteria, and also I am one who just talks a lot. So I just tend to, I used to just contaminate all my samples because you're not supposed to talk when you're working with petri dishes,
Yeah, unless you have a mask on.
Exactly. And I would talk all the time. So you can imagine what everything of mine came out as. And so it just never worked. And also I just didn't have the patience for the lab and for that kind of stuff. So then I just kind of pivoted in a way and I ended up studying marketing. Which is a very strange combination, but it came together so beautifully because now I kind of basically do science marketing. And then I recently completed my master's in science and technology studies, and I'm now pursuing my PhD in science and technology studies, but then again focusing on science communication because I figured out that is what I want to do. So I don't know if that covers who I am in a nutshell.
Yeah, it's a small chunk of who you are, I'm guessing. So, what did you do for your BSc?
So I studied molecular biology and biotechnology. So now you get with the petri dishes that bacteria come in. So in my third year, I then majored in microbiology and biochemistry. I enjoyed them thoroughly, but like I said, I just realized that, nah, it's not for me. No, I need to be out there.
Did you know about molecular biology, biotechnology before joining university?
That's a very nice question because I was actually having this conversation with a friend the other day that I've always loved science. It's always a question, as you get older, you start to ask yourself, why am I here? What is my purpose? What am I supposed to be doing? And the easiest way to know what your purpose is to always just go back to the things that you naturally did as a child or naturally loved as a child. And for me, it was definitely science. I've always loved science. I remember people in South Africa will probably know, I don't know if the magazine was all over Africa, but there was this magazine called Hip to Be Square. And they used to release an issue every single month, and they would cover different science topics and everything. And I literally had every single copy that they had until the magazine was no longer being produced. And I just fell in love with, I would read it cover to cover. And I'd find these things so fascinating and so interesting. And I remember I said, I want to find the cure for HIV. That is what I wanted to do. I was like, I want to find the cure for HIV and I want to do this. And then I was like, so how do I do this? And the beautiful part is that my mother is a teacher. So when I was in grade 9, that's when you choose your subjects. She came home with this big book of careers. Okay. And she said to me, take this holiday. It was over the holiday period because after the holidays, that's when we would choose our subjects. So it was the June holidays, which tends to be like a month, 6 weeks or so. So they're quite long. And when we were on holiday, she gave me this book and she said, take your time and go through this entire book and choose which subject you'd want to do based on the careers you'd want to go in. You are now fortunate enough that you can be any career that's in this book. Like you can literally pick any of this and you can be it. And that like really opened up a whole world. So I just sat there and I was going through all these different careers. I saw biochemist. I remember I wrote that down. I wrote biochemist down. I wrote microbiologist down. I wrote geologist down because I thought of like things I'd want to do in my career. So I was like, I want to travel. I want to find cures and all of these things. So I figured a geologist tends to travel quite a bit to all these different places. So I had that on the list. So I had all of these different things on the list. So I chose my subjects that way. So it wasn't like a full surprise when I get to varsity and there's these courses. I didn't know that name of the course, like molecular biology and biotechnology. You know how they have these fancy names, but at the end of the day, the core of it is it's biochemistry, it's microbiology, it's chemistry. So yeah, it wasn't completely new when I got to varsity. So that worked. That worked.
Interesting. So, I don't understand the South African school, system. So I'm wondering, when you're doing your BSc education, is there an attachment or internship that you're required to do?
No, not when you study through a university. So we have two. Very basically, there's two different types of higher education. So there's universities and there's technicons, right? Universities of technology. So at universities, they tend to focus a lot on the theory part, and you basically study, you'll have practicals and things as part of your course, but you're not required to do any in-service training or any internship as part of your degree. But if you do your degree with the University of Technology, then as part of your degree to actually graduate, you have to do in-service training or internship of some sort. So I unfortunately, really, it's two-sided. I went to a university and then they don't have that. So I never really got exposed much to the proper lab environment. I think the only time I got exposed to what the work would be like was when I was in high school. We were required to do some shadowing as part of our life orientation subject. And I managed to do, I think it was 2-month internship at Wits University in the virology department. So that was quite nice. So I kind of got to spend time with the scientists there and got to see them work with the little mice, and they were trying to, because they work with viruses. So they were trying to figure out what works and what doesn't work. And they were taking me through the whole process and stuff. It was really nice. But when I finally had to do my own practicals in third year, I realized, no, I think it's nice watching other people do it, not when I have to do it.
So after school, you never went into the lab stuff?
No, not at all. So I finished my undergrad, and then it was a matter of, do I do honors next? Because that's how our school system is. So we have a 3-year degree. Then you have to do your 1 year honors, and then you do your 2 years masters, and then your 3 years PhD. So after I know with some universities you do 4 years, and that encompasses the honors as well. So after that, you can go and do masters straight away. But with us, it's undergrad, honors, masters, and so forth. So I was like, okay, now you need to do your honors. And I was just like, no, because honors would obviously require you to really do research and spend a lot of time in the lab. So that's when I pivoted and did my postgraduate diploma in marketing instead of doing an honors year. So then that's when I kind of pivoted and then moved from there.
Wait, how did you know that you wanted to do marketing? Like, how was that transition like?
That's a very interesting question. That's why I'm saying, like, somebody's never just one thing, right? As much as I've always loved science and I've really enjoyed it, I've always been the one who enjoys being creative with my words and in those kind of spaces. And to be honest with you, how I ended up in marketing really is divine intervention. I like, it's so hard for me to be like, I chose it. I really didn't, because how it came about is I was actually going to do my postgraduate certificate in education, my PGCE, after my undergrad, because I was just like, okay, I might as well then go and teach the subject, because I don't necessarily want to be a fully fledged scientist. And then one day I was walking on campus, and you know how students walk on campus, like you're always on your phone or something like that. You barely look up, so you don't see the posters. But this one day I was walking, and then something said, just look up. And I looked up, and there was this poster that says postgraduate diploma in marketing closes tomorrow. Okay. Applications close tomorrow. And I was like, what? And I'm like, okay, that is it. I'm going to apply. I applied, and they only take about 40 students a year. I applied and I got in, and I loved it. I loved it so much because it challenged my science thinking mind. You know, scientists, we are very analytical. We pay a lot of attention to detail. We sometimes kind of very structured. And that's because you have to be, you have to follow certain protocols, or else your stuff won't work, But this marketing, sure, it challenged me in a different way, because I had to forget structure. I had to forget all of those things and just be okay with just getting creative and doing whatever it is that came to mind, and think about how I can make something more exciting for the other person to buy into. And that actually came together with what I always did as a child, which was public speaking, So as a public speaker, especially when you do those competitions that you need to like persuade the crowd to believe in whatever your idea is and stuff like that, kind of tied in beautifully. And then in that time when I was doing my marketing, I got my first job.
Wow.
And it was in the science faculty, and I was the recruitment and marketing officer. Do you see how they all come together?
Yeah. Wow. I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, exactly. Neither did I. Neither did I. But then it came together, and now I was traveling the country and trying to persuade students to come and study science at the university. And through that, I realized that there was a need for more representation in terms of what a scientist looks like, in terms of what scientific careers are there, and what's possible when you study science. And that's how Siakula came about. It started off as Stimination, and then it rebranded last year to Siakula Digital. And so that's how everything kind of comes together, if that makes sense.
Oh, that's very interesting. And that's a very interesting way of transition. Like, you just walk and just decide a day before the deadline, this is what I want to do, and this is what I'm going for, and you actually get it. And it just drives you to a certain career path. So what happened? You in that job? You're still in that job, or okay? Tell us what happened to where you are right now. Like, take us through that.
Do that. Okay, so I worked that job for 2 years, and then I got married. And then I moved to Qatar. So I currently live in Doha, Qatar at the moment. And that's where I've been living for the past almost 3 years at this point. And so that's where I currently am at the moment. And I'm just running Siakula Digital remotely because it's not necessarily a South African-based company. It's more a Africa-based company because the scientists that I interview are from all over Africa. And I just feel like I want the platform to be, this is Africa and science exists in Africa, and it's not just, this is South Africa. It's just a global dream for me. So that's what I'm currently doing at the moment, just really working hard on that because we also do social media management in that. So it kind of comes together. But when I first got to Qatar, I was working for a company where I was doing sports and I was doing marketing, social media marketing for them. So the marketing came in handy in that sense as well because they were looking for somebody who had a marketing qualification. And look at that, I had it.
Yeah.
So that kind of
just moving from one space to another just like that.
So, and it worked together. So that's just good. That was good.
Wait, where did you do your master's in science?
I did my master's at Stellenbosch University. So I started my master's before I moved from South Africa. And then so I did it's about 2 years. So I did the first year and I was still in South Africa. Then the second year was obviously with COVID and everything. I had already moved at that time. So then I finished up my second year from here. Because everybody went remote at that time. And at that time I was just doing my mini thesis write up. So it wasn't too bad. Easy. So I could just do it remotely. Yeah.
Wait, why did you choose science and technology? Sorry, I'm a bit curious.
Okay, so yeah, everything just works really amazingly. So when I started working my job in the science faculty at the university, I took a year off. So when I finished my postgraduate in marketing, I took a year off from studying because I didn't know where to go next. I was just like, how does everything come together and how does everything work? And I kept on looking at courses in the university and I wasn't seeing anything that seemed to align with what I wanted to do or work with what I wanted to do. So I was just like, I don't know. And then one day I was just looking through and then I saw this course and it was like MPhil in Science and Technology Studies offered by Crest. And I was just like, let me just look deeper into this. And I started to look at some of the modules that encompasses the MPhil, because you do some modules and then you do like a mini thesis. So it's not a full on thesis. It's more of like a research assignment. And I looked at the modules and one of them was science communication. Another one was actors and platforms. And I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. This is actually what I'm enjoying doing. And it's in line with what I'm doing right now with my work. So let me enroll for it. And that's how I ended up in it. And then I enjoyed it so much. I was just like, let me just do a PhD too.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
So what are your plans after this? Like, after finishing your PhD, still doing, running your science communication company?
Yes. Siakula Digital is literally still in its infancy at this point. And what it's going to grow into, even my mind gets like blown away at the thought of it. Because it's just so much that it has to offer. And And it's exciting because it's not about me. You know what I mean? It's not a company that I put together for myself. It was a matter of how can we elevate science or showcase scientists in a better light, So it's all about taking scientists, especially because scientists now, especially the younger ones, are starting to really embrace science communication. And this is also, it's a platform for them to just put themselves out there. When we do our weekly Instagram SciComm chats and stuff, some of them, they've never been on an Instagram live before. So it's a new experience. It's like, okay, let me challenge myself in this area, and with this game show that we are launching soon, it's like another opportunity to just put yourself out there and just be fun. Because for the longest time, everybody just sees a scientist as just a scientist, but there's a human behind that. A human who loves to have fun, a human who has their own hobbies and whatever. I know you like hiking and and things like that. Which is beautiful, you know what I mean? Like, that's why I always say a person is never just one thing, and it's always important to embrace every single part of you and not just allow people to box you in and be like, you're a scientist, therefore, you look this way, you do this, and you don't like talking to people. Or whatever, you want to be in your own space, which is not true. Here you are, you're a biochemist and you have a podcast.
Yeah.
Which is like, what? A scientist who wants to talk all the time and not about their work.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool in that sense. So yeah, it's from here, it's usually just PhD, look at it, and publish a bit more. And I really want to become an expert in the field, especially as a Black woman, to really champion that. It's unfortunate that I have to say that, like, especially as a Black woman, but that's the reality of it. That, you'd want, because I always say to my guests, on my SciComm chats that we can't be who you don't see. It's very hard to be who you don't see. And I want to be somebody who little ones can see and be like, I want to be like her.
Yeah.
Most of the people that I chat to, they're the first. They're the first in their village or in their town or in their city. And they just had to, raise the flag and whatever. But now that they're there, do you know how inspiring it is for every other girl, child or boy child who sees them? They're just like, I can be that, Scientists can have an afro and can have braids, and you get what I mean? Like, it's just representation at its best. So that's literally where I see myself, and just raising the flag and just showing people that Africa is golden. And people in Africa are smart, and they are able to solve their own problems.
Yeah.
And they can be the solution. They are the solution. And it's not always we got to look to the West, of what do we do now? But what can we as Africans do? And I think by showcasing our science a bit more, maybe the rest of the world can maybe take us a little bit more seriously, that, we do know what we're doing, and not punish us. Like, for example, oh my gosh, I probably should have warned you that I talk a lot.
No, it's fine. It's totally fine. I like that.
Probably should have warned you. It's like one host to another. So you end up like, For example, what happened now when South Africa picked up the variant,
Omicron,
the new variant, the Omicron variant, and how the rest of the world was like, oh, shut it down, isolate them. They have this new virus. And it's just like, no, they are the ones who were able to find that there is a new variant. So instead of being like, yay, thank you,
that you
punish
one.
us. You punish us. And it's just like, wow, that's very interesting. Who punished you when you found that there's a new variant?
No, not even a new variant. Who punished you when they found out that that there's a coronavirus or there's something else? Like if you discover something, it's never an issue, it's celebrated. But when,
Yeah.
That was a shock to me, honestly. It was, I wasn't expecting. I was like, wow, they've discovered, at least for me, it was like, oh, at least an African country has done this sequencing, has done the analysis, and has found out that this, surveillance and done that, and, realized the new variant. And we should celebrate that we're actually able to do that instead of people from outside doing that. Then suddenly it becomes a nuisance. You even started regretting, why did we find that about, find that. And, that also can, make people not want to talk about things that they discover because they don't want to be alienated. Anyway.
Exactly. And that is the sad reality of how Africa is viewed. For example, even when you look at these really amazing science journals, it's not that easy to be finding first authors being Africans who are in Africa. When you look at different articles and stuff, you'd see that a Western or European or American or whatever, but like from the West, a university has collaborated with a student somewhere in Africa, and they are like, and their name is on there, but they're probably like a third author or fourth author or something. And it's always other people doing research about us, and we can do it ourselves. Thank you very much. So let us do it. And don't punish us when we do it. So yeah, that's literally all I'm about. And I feel it's important. It's about time. It's about time that we really, take the bull by the horns and we're like, we're going to have the Africa that we want to see, because we are so privileged to have the youngest continent in terms of our age of the population that's around. I think the average age is is it 23, 19, somewhere there. But it's younger than 30, and that's the average age across the continent, which is amazing when you look at the potential that's there, Yeah.
Thank you for listening. You can now support this production through www.patreon.com/thevulnerable scientist.